Om. Om. ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्वी नावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ श्रीकृष्ण परमात्मने नमः। अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचिदात्मानमात्मना अन्ये साङ्ख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे अन्ये त्वेवमजानन्तः श्रुत्वान्येभ्यः उपासते तेऽपि चातितरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुतिपरायणाः यावत् सञ्जायते किञ्चित् सत्त्वं स्थावरजङ्गमम् क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञसंयोगात् तद्विद्धि भरतर्षभ समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरं विनश्यत्य विनश्यन्तं यः पश्यति स पश्यति समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समवस्थितमीश्वरं न हि नस्यात्मनात्मानं ततो याति पराङ्गतिम् प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मानम् अकर्तारं स पश्यति यदा भूतपृथग्भावम् एकस्थमनुपश्यति तत एव च विस्तारं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा अनादित्वान्निर्गुणत्वात् परमात्मायमव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते यथा सर्वगतं सौक्ष्म्यात् आकाशं नोपलिप्यते सर्वत्रावस्थितो देहे तथात्मानोपलिप्यते यथा प्रकाशयत्येकः कृत्स्नं लोकमिमं रविः क्षेत्रं क्षेत्री तथा कृत्स्नं प्रकाशयति भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोरेवम् अन्तरं ज्ञानचक्षुषा भूतप्रकृतिमोक्षं च ये विदुर्यान्ति ते परम् ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञविभागयोगो नाम त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः अथ चतुर्दशोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच परं भूयः प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमं यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः Jai Gurudev. Sumaji, are you able to share screen?
Yeah, can you all see now? Are you
Yes.
able to see?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
And is
dear.
it okay? Is it font size is good enough, or you want me to increase?
Increase the font a bit.
This is okay?
Maybe a little more.
No, then it won't fit in for me.
Maybe one little shade down so that it fits into your screen. I think this is fine.
Okay. So we did up to 27 yesterday, right? Want me to go back to 27?
Yeah, just go to 27 and maybe we'll do 27 and then come to 28. समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु तिष्ठन्तं परमेश्वरं विनश्यत्स्य विनश्यन्तं यः पश्यति स पश्यति. The one who sees the Lord remaining the same in all beings as the one who is not being destroyed among the things that are perishing, he alone sees. Yeah,
The
please go
one
ahead.
who sees is the one who sees. Ya pashyati, sa pashyati. The one who sees is the one who sees, is an expression to indicate that he sees something different from what others see. What does he see? He sees Parameshwara, the one who is limitless, Param, and the cause of everything. Ishvara, not an entity situated somewhere in particular, but the one who abides as the same in all beings. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam. In the very beginning of this chapter, Bhagavan said the same thing. Kshetra, kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Here, sarva kshetreshu is replaced by sarva bhuteshu and mam by parameshwaram. The meaning is the same. The one who remains as sama, equal, without any attributes in all beings is the Parameshwara, who is unfolded by the Shastra as Satya, that which exists and is the existence of everything in the form of jnana, consciousness, which is ananta, limitless. In all perishables, he is the imperishable. Then again, among all these time bound things that are continuously getting destroyed, Vinasyatsu, he remains as the one who does not die. Avinastat, Avinasyat. The body dies, the mind dies, as the thoughts keep dying one after the other. The whole time bound existent world dies. What does not die is Satya, only an object. Namarupa dies away, not the existence that sustains both its presence and its absence. When a pot exists, it is. When it is broken, the broken pot is. That is existence, which is Parameshvara. It never goes away. It is always with one thing or the other. In the midst of all the things that get destroyed, that which remains not dying is Parameshvara. Not dying includes all the changes an existent thing undergoes, death being the last one. Any existent thing is born, jayate, grows, vartate, metamorphosis, vipar, viparinnamate, declines,
Viparinamate.
viparinamate,
Uh,
viparinamate,
no, Viparinamate.
viparinamate, declines, apakshyate, and
Apakshiyate.
apakshiyate, apakshiyate, and finally dies, vinasyati. The one that does not die among the dying, does not decline among the declining, does not metamorphose among the metamorphosing, does not grow among the growing, and among the things that are born is not born, but remains the same in all of them, not undergoing any change is Parameshvara. This as a concept is very clear now, but as existence, not yet. It is not another object that prevails as others keep perishing, but is like the water which does not die among all the waves, which are born to grow and die. Similarly, among all these things which are dying, Parameshvara is that which does not undergo any change whatsoever. It is not born assuming a particular form, whereby it can be said that it is existent, because it is always existent. It does not grow or metamorphose into something, nor does it decline to die away. It is free from all change because it is not time bound. This is the very basis of time and all things in time. This is the very basis of time and all things in time. From the standpoint of creation, it is the cause, Jagat Karana, which is limitless Atma. The one who sees this alone, the vision of others, Shankara says, is like that of a person who has cataract. Where there is one moon, he will see two. Similarly, here, because of ignorance, others see duality, which has no reality at all. Once there is duality, he sees himself as one thing and the world as another. And being such an insignificant creature in such a vast universe, he is on an endless pursuit to try and eradicate his sense of limitation through various accomplishments and acquisitions. The problem is, any accomplishment is limited and is not going to remove his sense of limitation. That possible, that is possible only in seeing that he is the only one, not the one who's, he is the only one, the one who is the imperishable in the perishables. Vinasyatsu avinasyat, avinasyat, vinasyatsu avinasyat. Shankara introduces the next verse saying that the clear vision of Purusha and Prakriti, otherwise called Kshetra and Kshetrajna, as it was just described, is to be praised by telling its result.
समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समवस्थितमीश्वरं न हि नस्त्यात्मनात्मानं ततो याति पराङ्गतिम्. Samam, the same. Samavasthitam, the one who obtains in the same form. Ishwaram, the Lord. Sarvatra, everywhere. Pashyanhi, because of seeing. Atmanam, himself. Atmana, by himself. Nahi nasti, he does not destroy. Tataha, therefore. Yati, he goes. Parangatim, to the ultimate end. Samam, samavasthitam, Ishwaram, sarvatra pashyanhi, Atmanam, Atmana, nahi nasti, tatah yati parangatim. Because of seeing the Lord as the same, the one who obtains in the same form everywhere, he does not destroy himself by himself. Therefore, he goes to the ultimate end.
He sees Ishvara, who is same in everything. In all beings, he sees Ishvara, the Lord, as the one who obtains very well. Sama vashtitam, samyag avastitam, as the Atma, and is therefore in the same form, samam avastitam, in all beings, without undergoing any change. Ishvara, the Lord of the entire creation, is recognized as the Atma of all things, of all beings. Seeing this, he sees himself non-separate from Ishvara, and thus does not destroy himself by himself. Because of that, he goes to the ultimate end, which is moksha. It is the ultimate end in the sense that it does not come to an end, and there is no further end beyond that. He does not destroy himself by himself. Shankara explains what is meant by saying that he does not destroy himself by himself. In the world, we see that nobody destroys himself by himself. So, what is the purpose of saying this here? Only when there is a possibility of something is there a necessity to negate it. For example, there is no sentence in the Veda saying not to drink fire. It will say not to drink alcohol because there is a possibility of it, but there is no necessity to prohibit the drinking of fire. Here Shankara cites the Vakya, na pravitya, pra, na prithivya, na prithivya, na antarikshe agni chethavya. There is no prohibition for the sacrificial fire, such as do not set the fire on earth, in space, in the sky, etc., because the possibility for this is on earth alone, not elsewhere. Similarly, what is the necessity to say that he does not destroy himself by himself unless others destroy themselves by themselves? What we see is just the opposite. Everybody wants to live. Even a person who commits suicide really wants to live, but he cannot bear his unhappiness, and therefore he puts on an end to his body, thinking that he will put an end to his sorrow. Everybody wants to live and live happily. Nobody wants to destroy himself. When that is clear, what is the purpose of saying he does not destroy himself by himself? Shankara answers that this is not a problem because it is proper to say that all those who are ignorant are completely indifferent to the Atma and therefore are destroying themselves. Everything else can stray from your sight, but never Atma. It is always self-evident and never becomes remote, in spite of it being eternally present. Because he is ignorant, a person completely sets it aside, taking the anatma, the body-mind-sense complex, as the atma. Naturally, he becomes the karta and therefore a bhokta. Being a frightened, limited karta, he is always doing both good and bad karma and therefore accumulating punya and papa. Once his life here is over, he has accomplished nothing and therefore has destroyed himself. Because of the punya papa, he assumes another body, which also he destroys in time. In Tamil, there is a verse which says that in this great beautiful park, the world, a beggar, the jiva, went on asking the pot maker, Ishvara, to make him to make for him a pot, the human physical body. Because of his prayers, he was given a good body, a vessel, which is meant to be filled with knowledge. He was so ecstatic about the pot that he put it on his head and began dancing. Naturally, it fell down and broke. He did not fill it up with knowledge. Assuming new bodies one after the other, the ignorant person keeps destroying them because of abuse of his free will, the very endowment which can release him from samsara. It is something like a person who is bound up in ropes, being given a knife, instead of cutting his loose bonds, he cuts his own throat. He destroys himself by himself. Even though Atma is the absolute reality, the only thing that is due to ignorance, even though Atma is the absolute reality, the only thing that is due to ignorance, he is destroyed. This is because the result moksha that is already obtaining as centered on Atma himself, he has denied himself. On the other hand, the one who has the clear vision of Atma, this is because the result moksha that is already obtaining has centered on Atma himself, he has denied himself. On the other hand, the one who has the clear vision of Atma does not destroy himself. He has made use of this body and has not failed to recognize his identity with Ishvara, therefore gains moksha. Each, each individual is different. An objection. Now, an objection is raised that it is not proper to say that one recognizes Atma as the same in all beings because each person is different. Each one is a karta and thus his own actions, which produce his own unique results for him to enjoy as bhokta. Each one enjoys his own karma phala, both past and present. There are numerous kartas, each one distinguished from the other by his own attributes of punya papa. The following verse answers this objection. Can you please read this, Brahmaraj?
Yes, I will. प्रकृत्यैव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वशः यः पश्यति तथात्मानम् अकर्तारं स पश्यति च and prakritya eva by prakriti alone sarvashaha in all ways karmani actions kriyamanani are being performed yah pashyati he who sees tatha so too he sees atmanam the self akartaram as a non-doer cha and yah pashyati he who sees sa pashyati he sees च प्रकृत्या एव सर्वशः कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि यः पश्यति तथा आत्मानम् अकर्तारं च यः पश्यति सः पश्यति. And he who sees that by Prakriti alone actions are being performed in all ways, and so too he who sees the self as a non-doer, he alone sees.
The one who sees himself as akarta alone sees the truth. Shvetasva
Svetashvaropanishad.
Shvetasvaror Upanishad says, Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. May one who may one know Maya to be the cause, whereas the one who wields that Maya is Ishvara. Maya is a material cause that undergoes change. Parinami Upadana Karana. Ishvara, Brahman, is the cause upon which this Maya is based and which undergoes no change at all. Vivarta Upadana Karana. By this Prakriti alone, Bhagavan says, actions are performed. By saying Eva alone, he emphasizes that it is not by anything else. All the various karmas, both religious, Vaitika, and secular, Laukika, are being performed by Prakriti alone. And they are being done in various ways, by various organs of action. Maya itself does not perform action, but has undergone change to become Hiranyagarbha, the total subtle body, and Virat, the total physical body. At the individual level, Prakriti has modified to become the physical body, senses, and mind. Therefore, when a person performs any action, it is because of Chaitanya, consciousness, though consciousness itself performs no action. Because of the Purusha, which remains in Prakriti, without performing any action, Prakriti gets vivified and performs all actions. Thus, we have this peculiar connection, samyoga, which, as we saw before, is a superimposition, adhyasa, due to avidya. Therefore, Shankara says the karmas which are initiated by the organs of speech, the physical body, says that Atma, the Purusha, who is pure consciousness, does not perform any action. Therefore, Shankara says the karmas which are initiated by the organ of speech, the physical body sees that Atma, the Purusha, who is pure consciousness, does not perform any action. Atma remains independent of all the upatis, meaning their properties do not belong to Atma. This one verse states clearly that all that has been said here, the one who sees this sees things as they are. There is no pramana to say Atmas are many. Shankara adds here that there is no means of knowledge, pramana, to show that there are different Atmas. There is no tenability of a pramana for differences in a self that is not a doer and is without qualities and attributes like space. Being free from any limbs, it does not perform any action, and being the same, non-dual, there is no pramana to establish differences in Atma. Even your own perception denies this because what you can objectify is the body, and you cannot say, I am the body, at the same time, I am the one who's aware of the body. On the contrary, Shastra says Atma is witness consciousness. It is free from attributes. Sakshi Cheta Kevalo Nirgunascha. And what the Shastra says cannot be denied because Atma is you, self-evident, pure consciousness. It is free from attributes and not an object, but the essence, the subject of everything. An attribute is something because of which you recognize a substance and that which distinguishes one subject from another. How can you distinguish Atma from any object which has no attributes? And there is no object which is separate from Atma. In different words, he says the same thing in the next verse.
भावम् एकस्थमनुपश्यति तत एव च विस्तारं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा यदा when bhuta-prithak bhavam, the condition of distinction in the beings, ekastham, as having its existence in one atma, anupashyati, one sees clearly, tada then, tatah evacha, and from that alone, vistaram, its projection, brahma sampadyate, he gains brahman. Yada bhuta prithak bhavam.
I don't hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
Your
Oh,
voice
I'm
is
sorry.
soft.
I can hear it. Okay, now it's fine. Thanks.
Yada bhuta prithak bhavam ekastham anupashyati tada tatah evacha vistaram brahma sampadyate. When one sees clearly the condition of distinction in the beings as having its existence in one Atma, and from that alone is its projection, then he gains Brahman.
All beings exist in Atma alone. First, Bhagavan said, the one who sees the Atma as the same in all beings, which means the immanence of Atma is recognized. In this, the beings may be construed as separate from the Atma. So now he has to resolve that in order to show non-duality. Here he says that he also sees this duality of the beings as having their being in the Atma alone. Once you say Atma is one and the same, all the minds and senses, etc., have their being in and are non separate from the Atma. The existence of each one of them is non separate from the existence, which is Atma. Only Nama Rupa is different. Every Nama Rupa reduces to existence alone. Therefore, he says, they all have their being in one Atma. Anupashyati means he sees. In keeping with the Shastra, as taught by a teacher, he recognizes himself being all. as it is revealed in the statements of Shruti, like the self indeed is all this. Atmaiva idam sarvam. That means the status of existence for this entire creation consisting of various things has its being in the Atma alone. Not only does it have its existence in Atma, from that alone it is coming into being, its projection, tatha vistaram, like pots have come from clay. All the Namarupas have come from Atma alone. All this creation blossoms forth from Atma. Therefore, Atma is not only the conscious, intelligent cause, nimitta karana, but also the material cause, the upadharana karana. Thus, all this is nothing but Atma. Shankara quotes a sentence here that says, from the Atma is prana, from the Atma is hope, from the Atma is memory, from the Atma is space, from the Atma is fire, from the Atma is water, from Atma is coming into being and disappearance, from Atma is food. Atma, Atma, Atmataha, Prana, Atmata, Asha, Atma, Atatmas. You'll have to read this, I cannot.
Yes, yeah. Let me chant this. Atmatah prana, atmatah asha, atmatah smara, atmata akasha, atmatasteja, atmata apa, atmata avirbhavatiro bhavatmato mam, avirbhatiro bhavatmaro atmato nam. I think it's difficult for me also. The English transliteration is a bit difficult. Yeah.
In this way, everything is born of me alone, has its being in me and disappears into me. There is no other Ishvara separate from me, sitting somewhere and creating something. When a person is able to see this clearly, he gains Brahman. Brahma sampatyate, meaning he understands that he is Brahman. Seeing of me, everything has come. I sustain everything, existing in the form of everything, and everything resolves into me, is gaining Brahman. He does not become Brahman because even before knowing it, he was Brahman. That is why knowledge is all that is required because he is not, because he did not know that he is Brahman. Shruti had to say, you are Brahman. It did not say you will be Brahman later. It has been clearly shown that Atma is one non-dual consciousness in all the kshetras, and nothing is separate from Atma, which obtains in all the bodies and all the bodies, which obtains in all the bodies, and all the bodies are non-separate from Atma. Then, by association, will Atma not have the limitations of the body mind sense complex? In answer to this is the next verse. So Gurudev says, no, once you know me, once you know yourself, you will know me. So we have to only work on ourselves.
Do you mind repeating what you read just now? The verse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you go
Yeah,
a
you
little
want to
slow?
read one more time, please?
Yeah, a little slowly also, huh? Thanks.
Um,
Which one you want to read, this whole thing?
Yeah,
yeah.
this whole verse.
Okay.
That's
All
only one way.
beings, this one, no? All beings exist in Atma alone. First, Bhagavan said, the one who sees the Atma as the same in all beings, which means the immanence of Atma is recognized. So the one who sees Atma as the same in all beings. In this, the beings may be construed as separate from the Atma. So now he has to resolve that in order to show non-duality. Here he says that he also sees this duality of the beings as having their being in the Atma alone. Once you say Atma is one and the same, all the mind, senses, etc. have their being in and are non-separate from that Atma. The existence of each one of them is non-separate from the existence, which is Atma. Only Nama Rupa is different. Every Nama Rupa reduces to existence alone, and therefore, he says, they all have their being in one Atma. Anupashyati means he sees in keeping with the Shastra as taught by a teacher. He recognizes himself being all, as it is revealed in the statements of Shruti, like the self indeed is all this. Atmaiva idham sarvam. That means the status of existence for this entire creation consisting of varieties of things has its being in the Atma alone. Not only does it have its existence in the Atma, from that alone it is coming into being, its projection, tata vistaram. Like pots have come from clay, all the Namarupas have come from Atma alone. All this creation blossoms forth from Atma. Therefore, Atma is not only the conscious intelligent cause, nimitta karana, but also the material cause, upadana karana. Thus, all this is nothing but Atma. Shankara quotes a sentence here that says, from the Atma is prana, from the Atma is hope, from Atma is memory, from the Atma is space, from the Atma is fire, from Atma is water, from Atma is coming into being and disappearance, from Atma is food. Atmataha prana, Atmata asha, Atmatas smara, Atmata akasha. So this is clear, no? Atmata prana. From Atma, prana has come. Atmata asha. I think this is asha means, is it desire?
Hope.
Atmata.
Hope. Asha is
Asha,
hope.
hope. Okay. Atmata is hope. From Atma, hope has come. Here he says, no? From Atma is memory, space. Atma is hope, he says here. Atma is prana. From Atma is hope. From Atma is memory. Smara. From Atma is Akasha, space. Atmatas Tejo, Teja, fire. Atmata Apa, water. Atmata, so water. From Atma is the coming and coming into being and disappearance. So this is what I suppose that is. I can't read this. Avir Bhavatiro Bhavat Mato Nam. So coming into being and disappearance.
Avir Bhava Bhava Atiro Bhavat Bhavat Bhavatmat Nama. So means coming and disappearing. Okay.
In this way, everything is born of me alone. In this way, everything is born of me alone and has its being in me and disappears into me. There is no other Ishvara separate from me, sitting somewhere and creating something. When a person is able to see this clearly, he gains Brahman. Brahma sampatyate, meaning he understands that he is Brahman. Seeing of me, everything has come. I sustain everything, existing in the form of everything, and everything resolves into me, is gaining Brahman. He does not become Brahman because even before knowing it, he was Brahman. That is why knowledge is all that is required, because he did not know that he is Brahman. Shruti had to say, you are Brahman. It did not say you will be Brahman later. It has been clearly shown that Atma is one non-dual consciousness in all the kshetras, and nothing is separate from Atma, which obtains in all the bodies, and all the bodies are non-separate from Atma. Then by association, will Atma not have the limitations of the body-mind-sense complex? In answer to this is the next verse. Yeah. Ramaraji, can you read this 31st verse?
अनादित्वान् गुणत्वात् परमात्मायमव्ययः शरीरस्थोऽपि कौन्तेय न करोति न लिप्यते. Kaunteya, O Kaunteya, I am this avyayah, imperishable, Paramatma, limitless self, Anaditvat, being beginningless, Nirgunatvat, being without attributes, Sharirastha api, even though obtaining in the body, Na karoti, he does not do, Na lipyate, he is not affected. Kaunteya, ayam avyayah Paramatma anaditvat nirgunatvat sharirastha api na karoti na lipyate. O Kaunteya, being beginningless and without attributes, this limitless self is imperishable. Even though obtaining in the body, it does not perform action and is not affected by results of actions.
Atma has no beginning. A physical body is born. It has a beginning, whereas Atma is without a beginning, Anadi, and therefore does not have the problems inherent in something that begins. Anything that has a beginning declines and is destroyed. Because if it has a beginning, it is subject to time. What it was the previous moment is entirely different from what it is now. So, for anything subject to time, destruction is inevitable. Atma, however, is free from time, or anadi can mean it has no cause because it is the cause of the entire creation. What is there in the beginning is the cause with reference to any creation. Because the creation of the pot, because before the creation of the pot, there was clay, and thus clay is its cause. Similarly, before the creation was this Atma, and thus it is the cause that itself has no cause. It is the cause that itself has no cause. That means it is not an effect. Therefore, it is not born. It has no attributes. Then again, this limitless Chaitanya Atma has no attributes, nirguna. If it has any quality, then by contact, it can become different. Milk, for example, has its own attributes. And if you pour some water into it, which also has its own attributes, the milk becomes thinned. Any object which has an attribute will change due to the attributes of another object, which is in conjunction with it. For that to happen, it must be a substance enjoying its own attributes. Then, because of association, it will gather the attributes of the object with which it is associated. But first, that nucleus, which is a substance with qualities, is required. Now, Atma is entirely without attributes. Consciousness is not an attribute, and neither is eternality. If consciousness were an attribute, there should be another substance in which consciousness is based. If that substance consciousness or non-consciousness? If it is non-consciousness, consciousness cannot be its attribute.
Can you please repeat this para once?
Yeah. It has no attributes. Then again, this limitless Chaitanya Atma has no attributes, nirguna. If it has any quality, then by contact it can become different. Milk, for example, has its own attributes, and if you pour some water into it, which also has its own attributes, the milk becomes thinned. Any object which has an attribute will change due to the attributes of another object, which is in conjunction with it. For that to happen, it must be a substance enjoying its attributes. Wow. This is the key. For that to happen, Atma must be a substance enjoying its own attributes. Then, because of association, it will gather the attributes of the object with which it is associated. But first, that nucleus, which is a substance with quality, is required. Now, Atma is entirely without attributes. Consciousness is not an attribute, neither is eternality. So consciousness is not an attribute, neither is eternality. If consciousness were an attribute, there should be another substance in which consciousness is based. Is that substance consciousness or non-consciousness? If it is non-consciousness, consciousness cannot be its attribute. Moreover, anything you think of becomes an object of consciousness. And therefore, there cannot be a substantiative for which consciousness is an attribute. So, moreover, anything you think of becomes an object of consciousness. And therefore, there cannot be a substantiative for which consciousness is an attribute.
Substantive.
Wow. Substantive.
For which consciousness
is an
substantive is like a subject.
Yeah. Therefore, there cannot be a substantive, for which consciousness is an attribute. Nor is consciousness a substantive because it is an attribute-free vastu. Everything else is an object and therefore has attributes. Even Maya has the attributes of the three gunas, therefore is subject to change. Atma Chaitanya, on the other hand, has no attributes.
Excuse me. What is the substantive means?
Substantive is like the subject. When you're saying an object, that means there must be a subject that is looking at the object, right?
Right.
Having something substance, matter, that is an object.
Anything you think of becomes an object of consciousness, and therefore that thing, what you're thinking of, cannot be a substantive. It cannot be the subject, yeah, for which consciousness is an attribute. Nor is consciousness a substantive because it is an attribute-free vastu.
I'm just reading the Google meaning of substantive. It means having a firm basis in reality and so important, meaningful, or considerable. There is no substantive evidence for the efficacy of these drugs. That is the example. Second meaning is having a separate and independent existence. That is it. So having a separate and independent existence.
What was the first meaning you said? I can't hear you very well.
Substantive evidence is valid evidence. That is the first meaning she said. And the second meaning is independent existence. Isn't
Okay,
it?
got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So anything we think of becomes an object in the consciousness. And therefore,
Hariom,
yeah.
Hariom, we have that word substratum in the previous chapter where Atma is the substratum on the basis of which the everything else exists. So is it associated with the same meaning?
No. Substratum is what you said, the basis of everything. Here, he is referring to an object in your consciousness. Supposing you think of a pot, that becomes an object in your consciousness, isn't it? And therefore, it cannot be a subject which is thinking. The pot is not thinking. This is how I am getting. So therefore, it cannot be a substantive. That means it cannot have an independent existent. The pot cannot have an independent existent, for which consciousness is an attribute. So consciousness is not an attribute of the pot, but pot is present in the consciousness because you had the thought of a pot in your consciousness. So any thought that comes in your consciousness is an object of your consciousness, cannot be a subject without it.
And pot has attributes.
Which has attributes, correct. Nor is consciousness a substantive because it is an attribute-free vastu. Because subject has some attributes, but consciousness has attributes. So it cannot be a subject. Everything else.
Clear.
Yeah. Everything else is an object and therefore it has attributes. Even Maya has attributes of the three gunas. Therefore, is subject to change. Atma Chaitanya, on the other hand, has no attributes. Maya is also witnessed, Sakshya, while Atma is the witness, Sakshi. When even space cannot take on any attributes, how can consciousness, the very basis of space, assume attributes? Even though the mind is not separate from it, the problems of the mind cannot be transferred to the Atma, nor can those of the body, the senses, or the world with its varieties of problems. There is no nucleus to attract them. So this, when we say Chaitanya is attribute free Vastu, there is that Tanmatra is not there in it to attract problems or attributes of the body sense complex. Thus, Atma does not undergo any change. It is avyaya. If it were a substance with qualities, then those qualities could change. A body, for example, which was once young, is now old because having attributes, it changes. Atma, having no attributes, does not change and therefore never be destroyed. Want to have a short manana on that?
Can you please repeat this para one more time?
Okay. It has no attributes. Then again, this limitless Chaitanya Atma has no attributes, nirguna. If it has any quality, then by contact, it become different. It can become different. Milk, for example, has its own attributes. And if you pour some water into it, which also has its own attributes, the milk becomes thin. Any object which has an attribute will change due to the attributes of another object, which is in conjunction with it. For that to happen, it must be a substance enjoying its attributes. So here is the key. He says association happens only because two things have attributes. But if one does not have any attribute, this association will not happen. So Chaitanya has no attributes. So it cannot pick up attributes due to association with mind-body complex. This is how I am understanding. Then, because of association, it will gather the attributes of the object with which it is associated. But first, that nucleus, which is a substance with qualities, is required. Now, Atma is entirely without attributes. Consciousness is not an attribute and neither is eternality.
So like two substance that has its own qualities, right? Like water and milk. When you mix milk with water, then the milk is thicker and this one is thinner. Then the milk get diluted with the milk with the water. The Atma has no attribute. So when you even though it's body mind complex, which we read and you read in the previous verse, like it goes through the change, right? Born, anything that is born is going to be it's it's going to disappear. So like that, it has those attributes for the mind, body, and complex. So when it mixed with the one with no attributes, it doesn't affect that. So that
Correct.
is, yeah, having no attribute does not change and can therefore never be destroyed.
Yeah.
So one that has changes, one that has change, that will that get destroyed. The qualities, all that things, with but for Atma, those are the Nirguna,
Nirakara. Yeah.
Nirakara. Yeah. So that's what that is, I think.
That's how even I am understanding. Because
Yeah,
consciousness is not an attribute.
sorry. The explanation is, even though mind is not separate from it, the problems of the mind cannot be transferred to the Atma. That's what I was thinking. Like, when the God, the Atma doesn't do anything, then why are we carrying all these Papa Punyas and every karma that we do? So I am also a spark from that Atma. Then one, how is that affecting us, right? So obviously, because of this body mind complex doing all this stuff, then we're carrying all the things until we realize this Atma part. Even though we know the knowledge, if we have to realize it, that's another part of it, making it difficult.
At some time, somewhere, we got caught up in this small I and started this Papa Punya bank balance. And now we got totally caught up in it. Now we have to unwind and get out of it. If consciousness were an attribute, there should be another substance in which consciousness is based. Because earlier he has said, no, everything is based in consciousness. So now he says, if consciousness is an attribute, then this consciousness should be based in something. In that substance, is that substance consciousness or non-consciousness? If it is non-consciousness, then consciousness cannot be its attribute. Yeah. Because consciousness is based in something, and if it is non-consciousness, then non-consciousness cannot have an attribute of consciousness. Moreover, anything you think of becomes an object of consciousness, and therefore there cannot be a substantive for which consciousness is an attribute. Because whatever we think in the mind becomes an object for our consciousness, because consciousness is witnessing this object. And therefore, this consciousness cannot be a substantive for which consciousness is an attribute. Nor is consciousness a substantive because it is an attribute-free vastu. Actually, it simply just complicated the same thing, I feel. We already got it in earlier that consciousness has no attributes. So everything else is an object, therefore has attributes. So I think this is better. So consciousness is a attribute-free vastu, and everything else is an object and therefore has attributes. So that's how consciousness becomes the basis, substratum for all the objects. Even Maya has the attributes of the three gunas and therefore is subject to change. Atma Chaitanya, on the other hand, has no attributes. Maya is also witnessed, sakshya, shaksya, witnessed, while Atma is the witness, sakshi. When even space cannot take on any attributes, how can consciousness, the very basis of space, assume attributes? Even though the mind is not separate from it, the problems of the mind cannot be transferred to Atma. Nor can those of the body, the senses, or the world with its varieties of problems. Because there is no nucleus to attract them. In consciousness, there is that quality is not there. Thus, Atma does not undergo any change. It is Avyaya. If it were a substance with qualities, then those qualities could change. A body, for example, which was once young, is now old because having attributes, it changes. Atma, having no attributes, does not change and can therefore never be destroyed. Any Manana on that? Let's just go. Want me to continue reading or we'll stop for Manana?
Continue.
Continue. Okay. It's interesting, no?
This is left, Sumaji.
Huh?
More of this is
Yeah, I think we should continue reading. I
Yeah,
think
because
3 paragraphs,
that
or
thought
actually 2
that thought
pages
flow
we
is
have.
there. Yeah, only
Yeah.
2 pages. We can quickly read it.
Mm.
We'll continue, keep with the thought. That flow is there. Therefore, even though present in the body, it does no action. It is not touched by anything. This being so, even though it obtains in the body, Atma does not perform action. Sharirastopi na karoti. When everything is Atma, why is it said that Atma is obtaining in the body? Sharirastha. That is, because the body is the place where Atma can be recognized. The Upalabdhi Sthana. Upalabdhi Sthana. So it is through this body only we can recognize the Atma. So that's why it is sitting there. Generally, when action is performed by the body, we think Atma is engaged in action. This is an error, as we have seen. Atma is akarta and has no action whatsoever centered on it. Though in its presence all activities take place. Thus, even though it obtains in the body, it performs no action. When it performs no action, it will not be affected by the result of action. Na lipyate. It remains illumining the results of all actions. As a desire arises, Atma illumines the desire. While having no desire itself, it illumines the actions taken to fulfill the desire, all performed by the Upadi with the various instruments at its disposal. When the result comes, whether it is as expected or not, Atma will just illuminate, not being affected at all. Shankara makes a statement here that the one who does an action is the one who is affected by the result. If you think you are a karta, you are accountable for your actions and will have punya papa, sukha dukkha the entire samsara. In other words, the doer is the enjoyer. In other words, as you sow, so shall you reap. Now, when Atma performs no action, the next question is, who does this karma? Is there another Atma that performs action while this one does not? If that is so, we have two Atmas and therefore duality. Then the problem is sentence like, know me as the Kshetrajna in all Kshetras. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva Kshetreshu. One alone, non-dual, ekam eva advityam. Ekam eva
Advitiyam.
advitiyam.
Ekameva advitiyam.
Ekameva advitiyam. All this is the self. Idam sarvam yat ayam atma. All this is indeed Brahman. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. Will have no meaning. Not only that, how are you going to establish a second Atma if there is a seeing Atma and a Karta Atma? In which one will you place the I? So if there is a seeing Atma and a Karta Atma, in which one will you place the I? Is the Karta known to you or not? If it is not known, how can you call yourself Karta? If you are aware of the Karta, how can you say the Karta is you? There is only one Atma, and that I cannot be placed elsewhere except in consciousness. Wow, so fine. The experience is I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, and Shastra confirms that the one who does is the one who enjoys the fruits of action. Now, Atma does not perform any action, but somebody is doing it. Bhagavan himself said, in the nature of Prakriti, it is the
Yeah,
nature
you
of
cannot
Prakriti.
escape whatever you're doing. That's what they're explaining now. Oh, God. That was the
Bhagavan
question, right?
himself. Mm.
Your Papa Punya question.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Now you can't put it on anything else but yourself, by myself.
So we can finish reading now.
Yeah.
And we have this big thing, no? Atma is not the doer. So again, I had that confusion. Now I think I am also getting that answer. Now, Atma does not perform any action, but somebody is doing. Bhagavan himself said, it is the nature of Prakriti to engage itself in action. Swabhavastu pravartate. Prakriti, blessed by Atma, enjoys the consciousness that is reflected in the buddhi, and because of that assumes the form of a desirer, then a karta. Therefore, clearly doership belongs to the antakarna. When a person says, I do, it is due to avidya, ignorance. And that doership, as well as the enjoyership, is only for the ignorant person, not for the Atma. If Atma is understood as akarta, he understands that he performs no action, but the sense organs, mind, organs of action, all do their jobs. If he is ignorant, they and their activities are superimposed upon the Atma, and he will think that he performs action and is affected by the result. In reality, there is only one Paramatma in which there is no action. Then, who understands this vision? Those who understand this vision and having commitment in it, do not have notions of the Atma being a doer and enjoyer, and therefore have no qualification for action. Even though the Veda enjoins karma, it is only for the person who has ignorance, not the one who knows Atma is a karta. Even if he performs action, he knows he does not perform any action. Doing, he does not do. He does not do. Seeing, he does not see. Hearing, he does not hear. Kur- kurvanapi na karoti, pashyan na pashyati, shravanam na shrunoti. The results
न
of
करोति पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति शृण्वन् न शृणोति.
the results of such actions definitely do not affect the person who recognizes the truth that Atma's akarta. The next verse illustrates how he does not act and is not affected.
I would like to.
So Suma, you became a jnani now. You don't see, you don't hear, you don't speak or
You
whatever.
don't
So
do anything.
I'm
you don't do
actually
anything.
confused.
Yeah.
I'm back to confusion.
Percy wants to share something. Let us see
Yeah.
what he will say.
When we are coming to this, that he is not affected by what he does, sees, etc. I draw my attention to one of the Ratnavali's, this thing, discourse by Nanaji. There he had stated a story, I think, of a rishi who was in his ashram, and thieves come there. And when the soldiers come looking for the thieves, they take him also as one of the culprits. And the thing to be done there was that they are thrown on spears from a height, and the spear goes through the anus and comes out from the neck, wherever it goes up to, like. And this rishi is not affected by that spear piercing his body. Some name was given to him because of that. But then he went to Dharamdev, and Dharamdev is the one who looks after Dharam, like, sort of. And he said, "What did I do, like, to get this kind of punishment? I was doing my sadhana when the thieves came in. I did not rob anything." So then Dharamdev is punished by the rishi, sent back to earth as Vidur. And Dharamdev being punished. And now here we are saying that action, uh, he does not perform any action. Now Dharamdev performed an action and he got punished for it. Something, this is just a thought process that I'm having right now, keeping that story in context which Nanaji had said. So you have to come down to Mrityulok as Vidur. And
Yeah, there is another story that he mentioned that I remember, that Krishna and what is his name, Satyabhama, like where he Krishna says Satyabhama to make food and take this to the food to
Agastya.
another
Durva.
jnani, yeah,
Durvasa.
the
Cross the
Durvasa,
river.
Agastya.
across the Yamuna River. So he said, "Oh, how am I going to take all the food and cross the river?" She asked. So she's then Krishna says, "Tell the river I'm Brahma. If I'm were to be a brahmachari, then give the way." And then Satyavama was wondering, how can he be brahmachari? He's married to me, and all that. Then anyway, we'll ask the question later. She'll go there and give the food to the rishi. When she says that if Krishna is brahmachari, give the way, then the river gives the way and goes. So the same way the jnani eats all the food, every food that she brought. And then the jnani, uh, again the same problem, that she cannot cross the river. So then she asked the Jnani how I'm going back. So tell the river if the Jnani didn't eat any food. So he said, how can that be? He ate all the food. Then she's thinking, but then she told the river, and then she come back and asked Krishna, how can that Muni says he ate all the food and then he didn't, uh, he says he didn't eat any food. So that is what, that not performing the action, um, you know, we, that even though he ate it, but he, that what do you call that?
Yeah,
That karmas.
the Atma did not eat it, like consciousness did not. The body ate it, like sort of.
Right.
That is
Somebody
the,
who
yeah.
realized, then even though they do that action is not um, applicable to that realized person. So same way, like even, when you do the second chapter, the first sloka, the 12th sloka, the association, where Bhagavan Krishna says to Arjuna, do your duty, but don't think about the things, meaning like even if you kill that person as a kshatriya, he has the duty to perform, to protect the people or whatever that needed to be done. So when you do that, that doesn't whatever the results of that action doesn't apply to that atma. So that that's what I got from this. So that
Yeah,
story,
but that story is in that context, yes. But here I am saying is Dharamdev had to bear the fruits of his actions, and he is
oh,
Dharam.
I
He,
see. Okay, I
he
got it.
has
Okay,
acted according to dharma.
right. So I think that
The
was
rishi was punished by the spear because in his childhood he had pierced a thorn
right.
into a butterfly.
I
So
think it. Okay,
that
got it.
punishment came so many births later to him,
Right. Yes,
and his
yes.
action was according to dharma. He is Dharmadev,
Right. I
and yet
remember
he had to
that
go
one.
back to Mrityulok as Vidur.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
that's
you're right.
somehow
Yeah.
this is a when we
Yeah,
say
he pinned the pin on the butterfly. That's how he got this. That there is a specific name for that. That rishi. It's called. He had a hunchback with this
I forgot the
Ani.
name.
I remember it in Tamil like Ani something. What do you call that in for the nail in whatever language Sanskrit?
But
He, yeah, you're right, Doctor. I mean, Persiji, that's a nice story. Yeah,
so
I
it
am
just
talking
set
about
me
no action. You're
thinking
talking about the,
what we
yeah,
read here about karma, and then Dharmadev acting according to karma and then yet being punished and sent back.
right.
So
Yeah,
that
thanks. Yeah.
somehow with these lines I could not correlate it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
seemed contrary. So I don't know if somebody can explain that. Of course, after
I
undergoing the punishment, he went back and changed the rule that children below 14 will not face the consequences of their actions. बाल अवस्था में जो कर्म किए हैं उसका फल नहीं भुगतना पड़ेगा अगर गलत भी किया है तो
Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing this.
हाँ
But because of Maya and ignorance, the body acts and the karmas and papa punyas all happen. Because of
Yeah.
the ignorance, till that time, you are not.
but we are talking about Dharmadev in that story. Dharmadev
Huh.
acts only according to knowledge and dharma that too. Like even Arjun, what doctor was telling just now, that he was told that don't worry about the consequences. You act according to your dharma. And Dharmadev was acting according to dharma. And yet
So
he
that,
got punished by a rishi, a mere rishi. Dharmadev being punished by a rishi. That was the story that Nanaji said in the first Ratnavali, I think. The first,
so that probably Dharmadev had to go, this is my thinking, Dharmadev had to go through that to revise Dharma.
Or
No,
maybe
no,
see,
no. Yesterday,
this moment, whatever we are getting the results, it is not a linear karma pattern. There are so many ways this moment, if this way the result is coming to me, it's not that just before this moment I had done something and immediately the accumulated so many different karmas that he had to go through for certain reason. Like see, Bhishma was such a great in every ways and so knowledgeable, already enlightened person, but still he had to sleep on the so many thorns or something like that. uh, he had to arrows on so many
Arrows,
arrows.
yeah. Mhm.
So then he also asked Krishna, why I had to go through such a, it is a painful thing to lie on the arrows, hundreds of arrows, and it is pricking so much. So 64 or 74 birth before, what he has done, somewhere he has troubled somebody, pricking. The result, accumulated result, he was getting in this body. So we gahana karmano gati, they say, no. So we really can't, every action, you will have to go through the reaction in one or the other way. Of course, when the guru comes in your life, it can little bit be diminished, but still you need to go through your own karmas.
But this again contradicts the thing that the fire of knowledge will burn all your sanchita karma. That's what we learned, no, a little while ago. So this contradicts that
here
statement.
in this Ajay Gute,
and
here in this case,
sorry,
sorry.
everybody is talking about punishment being given for the karmas performed. What I am saying is Dharmadev was performing all his karmas according to dharma. He was always righteous, and that is why he is Dharmadev, no?
Yeah. So he
Jai
had to
Gurudev, here,
revise
the,
the rules of karma for children. So that is why he went through that, I think.
no,
So he came back.
here came
has
across
he,
in the
Jai
previous.
Gurudev,
Here
Jai
he has
Gurudev,
done the mistake, isn't it? Here he has made a mistake. He has punished an innocent person because he was not robbing and he was given that punishment. And that's where he went wrong. And that's why he was punished.
So that the king
Don't you think
punished
so?
him, na? Dharmadev did not punish him. King had that rule that he'd put on a spear. Some kings may have a distinct rule that they will just whip people who have robbed something, not take somebody's life. But rules differ from place to place. But here, Dharamdev was not directly involved in that.
In the previous.
the story has to be taken as a story. These are all Puranic stories. So we cannot apply the Vedantic truths to the Puranic stories directly. So
Yeah, they have some different meanings also.
there is a
And in the
concept like this.
previous page, we have read that organs does their own actions, their own work, whatever they are doing. Organs like that. Yesterday, someone asked question to Gurudev, if I am doing something and some others thought will make my karma papa punya or something like that. Some gist was like that. He said, no, till the time you are connected to that thought, you will not suffer because of the others' thought.
The question was, if I'm doing something and somebody has a thought opposing it, will that become my karma? That was the question, no, yesterday. So Gurudev said no.
Yes. So the result will be according to your understanding or your connection to that thought, not others.
Yeah, correct.
Here, even the Dharmadev has punished, but the same person must have been connected with that ki, yes, I have done this because of that thought, because he got connected, he must have got the punishment.
Because there's another story also, no, that if somebody on their deathbed is calling Narayana, and if Narayana's emissaries hear that, they take the body, not Dharmadev, whose emissaries also come to take that body. So Narayana gets preference over Dharmadev. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm logically thinking that Dharmadev had to streamline guidelines or discipline. So he had to go through that experience. It's very nice to sit and say all this, but I don't know. I'm just voicing
So
my
it's
thoughts.
okay what yes, it's right to understand what Brahmaraj is saying. It's the stories. We have to only take what we need.
So when there is a conflict like this, some variance between, you're not able to directly apply Vedantic truth and the wisdom into Puranic stories, I think we must let the Puranic stories be and just hold on to the Vedantic truth.
Vedas, yeah, correct.
So ultimately, between the Puranas and the Shastra takes precedence. Vedantic Shastra takes precedence. So maybe that is the way forward when we have such small, um, conflicts. And
I
in
think
any case,
all this, it's all
we are
the
not
big.
worried about why that happened, right? I mean, although for the logical mind there it seeks an answer, what we are discussing, what we are talking of, is even beyond logic. And when he says, kurvannapi na karoti, pashyannapi na pashyati, shrinvanna shrunoti. So Atma, we're talking of that Atma which is free from attributes, free from action, free from doership, free from enjoyership. And that is what we are. So Dharmadev getting whatever he had, and he had to uh, be punished, so to say, is all happening in where? In the Mithya world. We're not wanting to analyze what happens in the Mithya world. We want to stay with the truth, come to the truth. So I think in such situations, maybe it's good to let it be. So shall we stop here? I think we went way beyond.
One more thing I'll just add to what Gurudev said many years ago, that if you witness, if your actions precede being a witness to those actions, then also there is no karma. That is, before you do something, you witness the whole action. And you
So you
do
mean
the
to say
action in that
the witness
you
precedes the action, which
and
means you're totally aware of it,
yeah,
isn't it?
and you are in the Sakshi Bhav even when the action is happening. Then also there is no karma.
Like exactly when you're getting angry versus showing anger. Showing anger, you are completely aware of it. You're so grounded. Yet you're showing it with awareness. Whereas getting angry is you're getting completely overpowered by the anger. There is no awareness there when you're getting angry. Whereas when you're showing anger, there is that complete awareness.
When you are really angry, your every cell is angry. But when you are showing, it's means it is superficial anger.
Not superficial anger, it is anger which is under your control. Other anger is controlling you. When you're overpowered, anger is controlling.
That's very right. Very nicely put.
Correct.
I know what we'll do is these are very beautiful, powerful verses. Maybe tomorrow we'll go through them one more time and then do proper Manana again before we go to the 32nd verse. For now, should we stop here? We'll after the Shanti part. Sumaji, can I request you to share the Brahmajnana Vali Mala?
Okay, just a moment.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Air conditioner companies are trying to ban this device from the country. It can cool down any room in seconds.
असङ्गोऽहम् 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 पुनः पुनः सच्चिदानन्दरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः नित्यशुद्धविमुक्तोऽहम् निराकारोऽहमव्ययः भूमानन्दस्वरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः नित्योऽहम् निरवद्योऽहम् निराकारोऽहमच्युतः परमानन्दरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः शुद्धचैतन्यरूपोऽहम् आत्मा रामोऽहमेव च अखण्डानन्दरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः प्रत्यक्षचैतन्यरूपोऽहम् शान्तोऽहम् प्रकृतेः परः शाश्वतानन्दरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः तत्त्वातीतपरात्माहम् मध्यातीतः परशिवः मायातीतपरञ्ज्योतिः अहमेवाहमव्ययः व्ययः नानारूपव्यतीतोऽहम् चिदाकारोऽहमच्युतः सुखरूपस्वरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः माया तत्कार्यदेहादि मम नास्त्येव सर्वदा स्वप्रकाशैकरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः गुणत्रयव्यतीतोऽहम् ब्रह्मादीनां च साक्ष्यहम् अनन्तानन्दरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः अन्तर्ज्योतिस्वरूपोऽहम् कूटस्थः सर्वगोऽस्म्यहम् सर्वसाक्षिस्वरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः द्वन्द्वादिसाक्षिरूपोऽहम् अचलोऽहं सनातनः सर्वसाक्षिस्वरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः प्रज्ञानघन एवाहम् विज्ञानघन एव च अकर्ताहम् अभोक्ताहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः निराधारस्वरूपोऽहम् सर्वाधारोऽहमेव च आप्तकामस्वरूपोऽहम् अहमेवाहमव्ययः तापत्रयविनिर्मुक्तः देहत्रयविलक्षणः अवस्थात्रयसाक्ष्यस्मि अहमेवाहमव्ययः दृग्दृश्यौ द्वौ पदार्थौ स्तः परस्परविलक्षणौ दृग्ब्रह्मदृश्यं मायेति सर्ववेदान्तडिण्डिमः अहं साक्षीति यो विद्यात् विविच्यैवं पुनः पुनः स एव मुक्तः स विद्वान् इति वेदान्तडिण्डिमः घटकुड्यादिकं सर्वं मृत्तिकामात्रमेव च तद्वद्ब्रह्म जगत् सर्वं इति वेदान्तडिण्डिमः ब्रह्म सत्यं जगन्मिथ्या जीवो ब्रह्मैव नापरः अनेन वेद्यं सच्छास्त्रम् इति वेदान्तडिण्डिमः अन्तर्ज्योति बहिर्ज्योतिः प्रत्यग्ज्योतिः परात्परः ज्योतिज्योति स्वयं ज्योतिः आत्मज्योतिशिवोऽस्म्यहम् ज्योतिज्योति स्वयं ज्योतिः आत्मज्योतिशिवोऽस्म्यहम्